Well, if you were with me for the last video, we had started getting the barrels ready for the container gardens that are going in phase 2, and for the worm tower class that I am, or the worm tower workshop that I'm going to give on Saturday, June 20th at Delectable Tiny Gardens. And I had already spent over an hour with a tiny little hacksaw to try and cut the barrel in half, and it definitely works. So I've been spending the last few days experimenting with a few different tools, and one of them that I tried was the tree saw. Okay, so the other one is a larger hacksaw. At any rate, I am Vicki Manitou Okas, and I'm going to show you this. This is a second video of the prep, and I invite you to come and join us for the worm tower workshop, and we will show you how to put this all together. So let's get started. Okay, yeah, you can see the tree saw. This is a very aggressive blade, and when you use something like this to cut plastic, it has a tendency to catch and skip around a little bit too much and tear things. But you can do it. It's going to be very quick, but you got to have your groove already set. Okay. And the other part is you have to be very careful with this, because this does a lot of damage to your hand as well. So it's possible to use this, but I don't recommend it. You can get much finer blades for this. They're usually sold as bone saw blades. It's the same bow saw that takes both blades. I could not find one in town, and that would be the ideal blade to use to cut a barrel by hand. So I'm gonna switch to my. I got my bigger hacksaw out of where it was stored. It took a while to find it, so we're going to use this since I couldn't find the bone saw blade for the bow saw, and we're gonna. This has got a much longer cut. Okay, again, I cannot find of course, the fine blade. I don't like the fine blades to do this. It definitely works, but the coarser blades are not available here in town. So this is a 24T. Okay, so getting a little bit coarser blade like an 18T or a 12T is going to be a better choice, your best choice for doing this by hand. And always put your groove in first, all the way around, before you start cutting all the way through it. So, and you could definitely use a circular saw or sawzall or skill saw. But if you're not used to using the power equipment, be very careful, because it can skip and jump and catch, and I don't want to see anybody get hurt. So if you're not used to using the power equipment, get some help or use your hand equipment, because it's less likely to cause serious injuries than the power equipment. So let's get started. And that is all the way through already right there, and we're going to go all the way around this barrel. This is working much faster than my little short saw. this one is a 12-inch blade on this. My short one is a 6-inch blade, and that extra length, it makes all the difference. Okay, there it is. With the larger hacksaw with 12-inch instead of a 6-inch. Now granted, this is already grooved and I already had it halfway cut through. But with the larger hacksaw, that only took me about 15 minutes to go ahead and cut through the barrel. And there it is. I drilled the holes in before I cut through. So I've got one more hole to drill on the other barrel and then cut through that barrel. So the next thing to do with this one is, it's still got a little bit of bleach in it, and so we got to rinse that out really well before we start using that for the garden beds. But there I've got 2 garden beds about the same size. So this one has the top half has the original holes in it. Has original holes in it from the bleach. Okay, so that'll act as the drainage holes for this half, and this will provide a garden for things that like it a little bit drier, because the water will drain out the bottom. Okay, this one I've got designed with the holes about 3 inches up from the bottom, so this will hold a little bit of water in the bottom of this and it'll drain out the side when it gets up to that point, and this will provide a slightly moister environment, still with good drainage at the top, but it will provide a water reservoir in the bottom to wick up for plants that like a little bit more moisture, and it'll give us a little bit more time between when we have to irrigate these gardens. So we've got a dry garden and a moist garden, and the moist garden, I'm going to fill the bottom with logs, sticks, logs, and grass from the abandoned lot from the city mowing it. Okay, and then I'll put down some newspaper in there, some newsprint in there to keep the soil up above that for a while. Eventually that'll degrade, but and then the logs and the organic matter in the bottom will act as really good moisture capture, and eventually that will rot down into really good soil eventually. So barrel like this, you have to keep adding organic matter to the top. But I'm going to put worm towers in here so that we'll add organic matter and nutrients as we go along. So that's basically the prep work for getting these gardens ready. Let's get these. Let's get some water and rinse these out really well. All right, here we go. And those two are ready. Yay! Okay, now I wanted to show you one last thing before I close out this video. Okay, and that is, this is not an easy drill job. Okay, even though plastic is a fairly soft material, it has a tendency to heat up and kind of melt and get mushy instead of drilling easy. So there's a trick to drilling it, especially the plastic barrels. These are about 1/4 inch thick. So, but to do it safely, you have to get a divot started, which I've got right there, and that the drill can very easily skip across the barrel as you're drilling if you're not careful. So be very careful when you're starting that you actually get a divot in there before, so that you're not skipping across. And then once you get a good divot like this right here, okay, then I'm going to show you how to very carefully but safely drill this as efficiently as possible. Okay, and what you do is you rotate the angle of your drill a little bit so that you're changing where the drill bit is biting in the plastic. Okay, if you don't do that, then it has a tendency to just melt it instead of cut and pull the plastic out. And what you're trying to do with the drill is cut bits out or chip bits out and pull it out of the hole instead of just pushing things aside. So I'll show you how I do that. Again, it's very easy for a drill to skip across the surface, and you can get a very bad injury if it skips into your leg or your hand instead of cutting into the material that you're cutting. Okay, that was rotating it. Now if I'm not rotating it, it's not cutting. But when I start moving this around the hole a little bit, it starts taking material out. Okay, now what I did when you saw it punch through, after it punched through in the hole, I rotated the drill around the hole to help clean that up a little bit, so you've got a reasonably clean hole. That makes your hole, instead of pushing some of that plastic down into the barrel or to the side, that takes all that plastic material out, okay, out of the hole. So you actually have a hole there instead of something that's going to close up. So that's your basic trick, but you have to be careful doing it, that you have to make your divot first to give the drill bit a place to ride into before you can start rotating it. Otherwise you skip it across the barrel, and if you skip it into your hand or into your leg, you've got a very bad injury. So it's something to be careful with, but that's the trick. All right, thanks for joining me today. Yeah, I'm going to take the rest of the day and I'm going to start cutting this barrel in half. Okay, what I'm doing by there's no teeth on the top. I'm keeping my fingers away from the blade, the cutting blade. But what I'm doing is I'm controlling where that blade is going. Okay, by riding my finger on the top of that blade, I'm running it in the previous cut and controlling where the blade is going as I'm cutting back. You got to be very careful not to get your fingers in the way. So I've got my thumb tucked underneath, my fingers out of the way. Two fingers on the top to control where that cut is going. All the way around. Get a little bit of equipment. It'll serve you well in the long run. A 12-inch hacksaw or a 14-inch hacksaw is a very nice tool for doing small jobs around the house or in the garden. You can get an electrical drill for not too much money, or a hand brace at a lot of different auctions. But your hand brace is not going to take as big a bits as an electric drill will. So it's been fun. Thank you for joining me, and join me for the Worm Tower Workshop on June 20th on Saturday at Delectable Tiny Gardens. And hey, like, subscribe. What projects are you doing in your garden? What are you planting? Tell me what you're going to do in the comments. So we'll talk to you next time, and have a good day. Join me for